So when the pandemic hit, we were about to shoot it. We had this kind of movie idea we were about to shoot, and we were going to start principal photography on March 16th. And so we were part of it was an incredible thing to live through. Like, it's such a weird time that week that everything shut down. Right. And I live in New York, and Ann and Trey and everyone was in LA, and we were going to start shooting in LA. And so I was scheduled to go out there, and I was in New York, and I was like, oh man, it just felt like the walls were closing in if you were here that week. But people in LA are like, what are you talking about? It was a very, it was a very intense kind of experience. And we had to kind of pull the plug on our movie that we were doing, thinking we're going to shut down for 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. So then it becomes obvious after all sitting in our house for like 6 or 8 weeks, like, okay, what are we going to do with our lives? Not even this movie. The movie's not going to happen, but we have a few different things we're working on. We've got things on the back burner, front burner. We can kind of choose what do we want to spend our time on. And there was, well, maybe it didn't take 8 weeks. It took a few weeks, but I don't know. One of us just was like, can we try doing South Park could be remote, because everyone knows so much what they're doing. We've got so many people who've worked there for decades. We know the process. Could everyone do that remote? And we can't do it in 6 days. So let's let go of that. But if we could do something and get an animation pipeline going 100% remote, we could do something. So we really, had a million Zoom meetings like everybody else, and like busted that into shape, which again, if we hadn't all worked together for decades in a building together, I don't think you could just start up and figure that out. Everyone knew exactly what to do. Everyone come get your computers, go home. And we did two specials, which are hour-longs. We've done 2 of them. They've been 100% remote.
And how long did it take?
None of us
versus the usual 6 days. Those took.
Oh, so the first one, they're double length, but the first one took 12 weeks essentially.
Wow.
The second one we should have done quicker, but it ended up taking like 8 or 9 weeks. But we could have done it quicker. And I think we're going to do one for mid-June, and it has a lot of it kind of has some ambitious art involved that we had to get a little extra start on. But when we get to it, we're going to try to do it in 5 weeks. And we kind of need to do it. We know we can do it in 5 weeks, and so we can do it 6, but we shouldn't do it in 8. It's just like we can tell that's how long it should take. And any longer it starts to overbake, and then we get bummed out. And it's like, there's this about right comedy, especially. It's got to be fresh enough. You got to work on it. You got to make it better. You got to iterate, but you don't want to get bored. You don't want to get unexcited with it, and that's for a writer. It's different from producers. Like the producer part of me and totally enjoys like 7 and 8 year projects. I don't know why. I'm like some kind of weird war general or something. I just enjoy this stuff. But as a writer, it is hard to write something and 2 years later be like, let's shoot that joke, that killer joke, because you just have, you've just lived with it. It just seems so. It is that trying to keep the energy going, but not too fast, because we're also old and we're lazy and it's hard to work and we don't like working as much. But it's kind of like we have to hold our feet to the fire. We won't do it,